My name is Amos Yadlin, used to be a general in the Israeli Air Force and intelligence, and now running a think tank in Tel Aviv. Looking into the future agreement with Iran, I put behind me the initial agreement,
Right.
and what is really important is the final agreement. Two questions. What is the parameters that you are see as a red line to ensure that Iran will be moving forward, moving backward, rolling back from the bomb as much as possible? And what is your plan B if an agreement cannot be reached?
Well, with respect to the end state, I want to be very clear. There's nothing in this agreement or document that grants Iran a right to enrich. We've been very clear that given its past behavior and given existing UN resolutions and previous violations by Iran of its international obligations, that we don't recognize such a right. And if, by the way, negotiations break down, there will be no additional international recognition that's been obtained. This deal goes away and we're back to where we were before the Geneva Agreement. And Iran will continue to be subject to all the sanctions that we put in place in the past, and we may seek additional ones. But I think what we have said is we can envision a comprehensive agreement that involves extraordinary constraints and verification mechanisms and intrusive inspections, but that permits Iran to have a peaceful nuclear program. Now, in terms of specifics, we know that they don't need to have an underground fortified facility like Fordo in order to have a peaceful nuclear program. They certainly don't need a heavy water reactor at Iraq in order to have a peaceful nuclear program. They don't need some of the advanced centrifuges that they currently possess in order to have a limited peaceful nuclear program. And so the question ultimately is going to be, are they prepared to roll back some of the advancements that they've made that would not justify or could not be justified by simply wanting some modest peaceful nuclear power, but frankly hint at a desire to have breakout capacity and go right to the edge of breakout capacity. And if we can move that significantly back, then that is, I think, a net win. Now, you'll hear arguments, including potentially from the Prime Minister, that says we can't accept any enrichment on Iranian soil, period, full stop, end of conversation. And this takes me back to the point I made earlier. One can envision an ideal world in which Iran said, we'll destroy every element and facility and you name it, it's all gone. I can envision a world in which Congress passed every one of my bills that I put forward. I mean, there are a lot of things that I can envision that would be wonderful. But precisely because we don't trust the nature of the Iranian regime, I think that we have to be more realistic and ask ourselves, what puts us in a strong position to assure ourselves that Iran's not having a nuclear weapon and protect it? What is required to accomplish that, and how does that compare to other options that we might take? And it is my strong belief that we can envision an end state that gives us an assurance that even if they have some modest enrichment capability, it is so constrained and the inspections are so intrusive that they, as a practical matter, do not have breakout capacity. Theoretically, they might still have some. But frankly, theoretically, they will always have some because, as I said, the technology here is available to any good physics student at pretty much any university around the world. And they've already gone through the cycle to the point where the knowledge we're not going to be able to eliminate. But what we can do is eliminate the incentive for them to want to do this. And with respect to what happens if this breaks down, I mean, I won't go into details. I will say that if we cannot get the kind of comprehensive end state that satisfies us and the world community and the P5+1, then the pressure that we've been applying on them and the options that I've made clear I can avail myself of, including a military option, is one that we would consider and prepare for. And we've always said that. So that does not change. But last point I'll make on this. When I hear people who criticize the Geneva deal say it's got to be all or nothing, I would just remind them if it's nothing, if we did not even try for this next 6 months to do this, all the breakout capacity we're concerned about would accelerate during that 6 months. Iraq would be further along. The advanced centrifuges would have been put in place. They'd be that much closer to breakout capacity 6 months from now. And that's why I think it's important for us to try to test this proposition.